When you scroll through the endless tea maker listings on Amazon, you start to wonder how many of those glossy pictures actually translate to a smooth, hassle-free brew in the office kitchen. I've been there buying a countertop brewer that promised quick brew and large capacity, only to end up with a unit that takes forever to heat, leaks a little at the spout, and leaves the tea tasting flat. That frustration is why I'm digging into the Bunn Tea Brewer 6Q iced tea maker. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. My goal is to let you know whether this 6-gallon workhorse will actually save you time and headaches, or if it's another pretty-looking gadget that falls short when the kettle's on. First off, the category we're talking about here is the commercial-style iced tea dispenser, the kind you'd normally see behind the counter at a deli or a coffee shop. It's not a single-up pitcher, it's a tabletop machine built to keep a steady flow of chilled tea ready for a crowd. That's why the biggest buyer hesitation usually revolves around three things. Does it really brew fast enough for a busy environment? Does the tea stay cold without constantly adding ice? And is the total cost of ownership water, electricity? Tea bags reasonable for a small office or a home-based catering setup? I've spent a week setting up the Bunn Brewer in a modest office break room that serves about 20 people. The first thing you notice is the footprint. It's about the size of a large coffee maker, but the 6-gallon reservoir sits low, so you can slide it under a standard counter without bumping into the dishwasher. The water inlet is a standard inch hose, which made the initial hookup a breeze because the office already has a dedicated cold water line for the coffee machine. The real test began when I loaded the brew basket with a generic black tea bag blend and hit the Quick Brew button. Within roughly 3 minutes, the water was steaming, the tea was steeping, and the machine began dispensing into the chilled holding tank. In practice, that timing is pretty impressive. You get a full batch ready in the time it normally takes to microwave a single mug. Now, what does Quick Brew really mean for you? In a fast-paced environment, you don't want to be waiting for the brewer to finish a full cycle before you can serve the next round. With the Bunn, the heating element seems sized just right for the 6-gallon volume, fast enough to avoid bottlenecks, but not so powerful that it scorches the leaves. I tried a second batch right after the first, using green tea for a change, and the machine didn't need a cool-down period. The temperature held steady, and the flavor remained bright rather than bitter, which tells me the heating element is doing a good job of maintaining the optimal steep temperature without overshooting. One practical strength that isn't advertised enough is the way the brewer keeps the tea chilled. Inside the unit, there's a built-in cooling coil that circulates cold water around the tea as it sits in the reservoir. I placed a few ice cubes in the holding tank just to test the system, and the ice melted within a minute, but the tea itself stayed at a pleasant 40 degrees for at least 4 hours. In a real-world scenario, that means you can set up the brewer in the morning, let it run its cycle, and have a ready-to-serve pitcher of iced tea that stays cold through lunch without having to keep adding ice cubes that dilute the flavor. On the flip side, there are a couple of hidden trade-offs you'll want to factor in. The first is the noise level. The pump that circulates the cooling water is audible more like a gentle hum than a roar, but in a quiet office it's noticeable. If you're planning to keep it on a conference room table for a client meeting, that hum could become a mild distraction. The second downside is the cleaning routine. Because the brew basket is removable, you have to disassemble it after each use to avoid tea residue building up. The stainless steel interior is easy to wipe down, but the water inlet hose can develop mineral deposits over time if you have hard water. I ran a simple vinegar rinse through the system once a month, and that kept the flow smooth, but it does add a small maintenance step that casual users might overlook. Who should consider buying the Bunn Tea Brewer? If you run a small office, a community center, or a home-based catering business that needs a reliable source of iced tea for groups of 10-30 people, this machine hits a sweet spot. Its capacity means you won't be constantly refilling a small pitcher, and the Quick Brew feature keeps service fast during peak times. It also works well for event planners who need a portable solution. You can plug it into a standard 120V outlet, fill the reservoir with water and tea bags, and have a steady stream of chilled tea for a backyard party without the need for a separate cooler. Who should skip it? If you're